Hey, welcome to EPN. My name is Victor Lucas, and we bring you the latest in everything cool every single day, thanks to viewers, supporters, and now sponsors just like you. And yesterday, Tarek Satar gave me a partial refund for seeing Justice League. Thank you so much for that. This rundown is all yours. EA might have a bad feeling about this because the trouble surrounding Star Wars Battlefront 2 is far from over. The state of Hawaii might soon ban Battlefront 2 and other games that use randomized paid loot boxes, or, at the very least, ban them from being marketed and sold to children. Hawaii State Representative Chris Lee has announced that he's begun the process of drafting legislation to address what he calls predatory behavior by game makers, and he calls out EA and Battlefront 2 specifically. In a statement, he says that loot boxes and microtransactions are a form of gambling that are explicitly designed to prey upon and exploit human psychology, the same way casino games are designed. He even goes so far as to call Battlefront 2 a Star Wars-themed online casino and wants children banned from the game the same way they're banned from gambling establishments.
This game is a Star Wars-themed online casino designed to lure kids into spending money. It's a trap. And this is something that we need to address to ensure that particularly kids who are underage are protected from being trapped into these cycles, which have compelled many folks to spend thousands of dollars in gaming fees online.
Another Hawaii State Representative, Sean Quinlan, compares Star Wars Battlefront 2 to the cigarette mascot Joe Camel.
Some of you folks who are a little older may remember a character by the name of Joe Camel. He's not around anymore, and we didn't allow Joe Camel to encourage your kids to smoke cigarettes, and we shouldn't allow Star Wars to encourage your kids to gamble.
Chris Lee and Sean Quinlan haven't unveiled their legislation yet, but they say that they hope to enact it within the next year. They add that they're doing this now because more and more AAA games are embracing these kinds of randomized loot boxes, and they want to address the issue before it becomes any more mainstream. Their statements comparing loot boxes to gambling sounds very familiar to what many gamers have been saying on social media. The difference here is that these are elected representatives who have the ability to create actual laws that will affect an entire U.S. state. On top of that, they also plan to work with legislators in other state capitals, so if this becomes law in Hawaii, other states might have similar legislation soon after. The government of Belgium is looking into the matter as well, which would affect the entire European Union, so this could just be the tip of the iceberg.
That's good. You've taken your first step into a larger world.
Needless to say, this is a big problem for EA and other game makers and makes the previous problems with Battlefront 2 look tame in comparison. EA temporarily suspended the microtransactions in a bid to end the controversy, but they were planning to switch them back on eventually. It's not inconceivable that game makers might want to abandon paid loot boxes rather than risk a long battle with governments all over the world, so we'll let you know what they do next. Another party who isn't going to be happy about this is Disney. Nobody wants one of their most valuable properties to be compared to the likes of Joe Camel, so this could force them to put even greater pressure on EA to solve the matter before it gets any more out of hand. You know, we'll keep you up to date on the latest.
If money is all that you love, then that's what you'll receive.
And with all the negative publicity surrounding Battlefront 2, developer DICE wants to turn the tide and focus on their last game. DICE has detailed what's included in the next batch of DLC for their World War I shooter, Battlefield 1. Known as Turning Tides, the DLC is focused primarily on water-based and amphibious combat, giving players 4 new maps set on the oceans and beaches of the war. The first 2 maps, which arrive in December, are based around the British invasion of the Gallipoli Peninsula in 1915, while the second 2 maps, which don't arrive until January, take place in the North Sea between Britain and Germany. Turning Tides will also give players new land, sea, and air-based vehicles, not to mention 6 new regular weapons and 2 new melee weapons. Battlefield 1 was released last year and received a much less controversial reception than DICE's Battlefront 2. Like that game, Battlefield 1 includes microtransactions, but unlike Battlefront 2, they're only for cosmetic items and don't actually affect the way you play. This has allowed Battlefield 1 to escape the pay-to-win criticism that has hounded Battlefront 2, so DICE might want to consider implementing a similar model when or if they bring the Battlefront 2 microtransactions back online. Battlefront 2 might be struggling, but another Star Wars adventure is going to rake in the dough. Several box office tracking sites are predicting that the new movie Star Wars The Last Jedi will earn just over $200 million domestically when it opens next month. This would give it the biggest opening weekend of 2017, but fall a little bit short of the opening weekend of 2015's The Force Awakens, which made almost $250 million. That, incidentally, was the biggest opening weekend of all time, not adjusting for inflation. This means The Last Jedi might not be as big as The Force Awakens, but it's still going to be a huge hit. Not that it's much of a surprise that a Star Wars movie would make tons of money. Best of all, The Last Jedi doesn't even need loot boxes. A big opening weekend isn't just good for the studio, it would be a boost for the entire film industry as a whole, which has seen a noticeable drop in ticket sales in recent years, with 2017 seeing some of the worst numbers ever. The Last Jedi will help turn things around when it hits theaters on December 15th. The first footage from the next Jurassic Park movie has hatched. Filmmaker Colin Trevorrow, who directed 2015's Jurassic World, has posted the first footage from the upcoming sequel, Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom. There it is. It just shows Chris Pratt's character Owen Grady interacting with what looks like a young raptor, so we'll have to wait to get a look at more. Alongside Chris Pratt, Bryce Dallas Howard will reprise her role from the last film, but Colin Trevorrow won't be directing this time around. The new film is instead being held by Spanish filmmaker J.A. Bayona, who last directed the 2016 fantasy film A Monster Calls. Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom breaks out next summer. Slowly but surely, Battlegrounds is inching closer and closer to a finished game. Developer Bluehole has unveiled 2 new weapons that will be added to the game when its finished 1.0 version deploys next month. The new weapons are the AUG A3 assault rifle, which has a high firing rate with low recoil, and the DP-28 LMG machine gun, which has a low firing rate but a longer range. Both of them are already available in the game's test servers, but won't be available for everyone else until the 1.0 version arrives. That will also include loads of other changes like updated graphics and animations, as well as gameplay tweaks like new hit areas and damage balancing. Basically, the 1.0 update is everything Bluehole needs to do in order to make Battlegrounds a finished game and get it out of early access, which it's been in since it launched in March. Being in early access hasn't stopped the game from being a huge hit. It's already the most played game in Steam's history and has shown no signs of slowing down. Battlegrounds is set to make its Xbox One debut on December 12th, so don't be surprised if 1.0 hits the PC around the same time. Square Enix wants to keep making games for the Switch, but maybe not their biggest games. With Square Enix about to make their Switch debut with the new RPG Lost Sphere, the publisher has revealed their future plans for the new Nintendo platform. Speaking with investors, Square Enix CEO Yosuke Matsuda says that they plan to keep releasing titles on the Switch, but that doesn't mean they'll be releasing their biggest games. Matsuda says that the Switch is well suited for mid-sized titles, which I guess means they'll be making more mid-level games like Lost Sphere and not big ones like Final Fantasy 15. Matsuda adds that they also plan to leverage their back catalog of games, which means we could be seeing re-releases of older titles. All this sounds like Square Enix is saying that the Switch just isn't as powerful as rival consoles like the PS4 and Xbox One, something that's already obvious in ports of other games like FIFA 18 and Doom, but still, the Switch is a pretty cool platform that the publisher wants to utilize. Square Enix will release Lost Sphere on the Switch in January. And that wraps us up for the rundown today. Thank you so much for watching. You know, we've got tons of videos for you to check out, so please do that. And if you dig our stuff, hit that subscribe button, that little bell, and if you're so inclined, that sponsorship button too.